Bakugo is back, and so am I. Yet, again and again. But at least we're changing it up a bit. What's up, it's Truth Hero, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter review. So this, Boku no Hero Academia chapter 404 of the manga, where we discuss yet another example of bending fate, wishing a different destiny than Sir Nighteye predicted for All Might, and again, asking that question this series seems to bring up time and time again, can we truly change the future? Oh, and of course, Bakugo's back. Let's dive in. The chapter opens with Sir Nighteye's famous words to All Might about how he would die a gruesome death at the hands of a villain. We see All For One holding All Might above him, ready to deliver the final death blow and end the symbol of peace once and for all. All For One holding All Might above his head here reminds me of when Bane is holding Batman above his shoulders right before he breaks his back on his leg. This is a great callback to the original comic books, and of course, as we all know, Horikoshi loves his American comics. The wind is blowing differently today. The weather is changing. Even the characters note this. And something is riding that jet stream. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? No, it's Bakugo. Bakugo? Bakugo is back, and he's screaming towards Deku, who plans to slingshot him towards All For One and save All Might. Now, of course, before he does this, all while still wrestling Shigaraki, I might add, the second user of One For All warns Deku, if you use Gear Shift one more time, victory will be out of reach. The recoil is too great. And, of course, predictably, Deku ignores this advice, because why? Why would Deku ever listen to someone's advice about hurting his own body? But he grabs Bakugo's hand and uses an explosion gear shift combination to increase their speed and hurls Bakugo right at the villain king. One really cool thing to note here is that when Deku is warned about not using gear shift, the second user actually stops warning him and stands down when Toshinori starts materializing next to him as a vestige. It's almost like the other vestiges have a higher level of respect for All Might than they would for each other. And you'd think it'd be the opposite. You'd think the second user, who is, the grandfather of the grandfathers of these previous users of One For All, would get the most respect. But it's not the case. He stops when All Might appears, almost like the bond between Toshinori and Deku is greater than any advice or ideas he could have about this fight. However, this does mean that Shigaraki's taunt is unfortunately true when he says that All Might is now materializing more as a vestige because Toshinori is closer to death. The man, the myth, the legend of All Might that brought the world so many dreams as the symbol of peace is now dying, and his death will return the world back to reality, back to the villain way. But not for long. Before we discuss Bakugo's heroics, it is important to note that Bakugo's explosions may have dampened the force and inertia, the G-force from Gear Shift, to allow Deku to make that maneuver without it recoiling on his body. And honestly, let's hope it was dampened somehow, because you don't want that recoil. There's not really a point to stop All For One in saving All Might if Deku then can't fight Shigaraki. It really defeats the purpose of the heroes here. Of course, All For One is going to rewind eventually, so he will die out. And yes, this would be at the price of All Might's death, but do you not think All Might wouldn't give his life right now to stop Shigaraki? So let's hope Bakugo and Deku in that moment, along with the second user of One For All and maybe Toshinori as a vestige, figured out some workaround to this problem. Bakugo, with his awesome momentum, uses his explosions to travel faster than he's ever gone, probably breaking the sound barrier at this point, and rips All Might away from All For One's grasp. Bakugo actually severs All For One's arms with explosions as he rescues All Might, at least for now, from Sir Nighteye's prediction of that gruesome fate, telling Deku and his teacher, "We'll win this. We see this subtle yet really important panel where it shows Bakugo in a flashback when he believes that he's the reason that All Might retired. He's always blamed himself for that, and if you thought the hug from All Might would be enough to calm that worry and stop him from thinking that, think again. I mean, Bakugo would need years of therapy just to confront his anger issues, so it's clear he still internalizes this no matter what All Might says. So that's why it's so fitting that he gets to be the one to rescue All Might from All For One, to stop All Might from suffering the fate Sir Nighteye predicted, and to stop All Might from retiring, not as a hero, because I do believe that this is All Might's last fight regardless of if he lives or dies, but he gets to stop All Might from retiring from the lives of the UA students, from everyone in society who's looking at this battle and cheering him on, the common people that say, hey, I really don't want All Might to die. Now, even though the chapter was pretty short, really short actually, it does bring up this motif of bending fate in relation to Sir Nighteye's quirk. So it raises two questions. One, how does one bend fate in regards to that prediction made by Sir Nighteye? We've seen Deku do it in his fight against Chisaki, although he had Eri helping him. I don't know if they expected Deku to reach out to Eri and get her to fight alongside him and to help him in that battle. So it's possible that when Eri's quirk is in the mix, and we've talked about how she rewinds stuff, is it a different timeline, is it your DNA, is it your biology, that with her quirk in play, Sir Nighteye's prediction goes out the window. It's like the best AI, and then it encounters something that it can't calculate the variables for. As we know, Shigaraki probably wants to kill All Might, and that could be the gruesome fate that Sir Nighteye predicted, and I'm sure All For One wouldn't mind killing the Symbol of Peace as well. But now that All For One is being rewound by Eri's quirk, does this change something in how Bakugo has now rescued All Might from All For One? Is he now unable, that is, All For One, that is, to kill All Might because he's having the effects of Eri's quirk take hold? Number two is, now that Bakugo and Deku have made their move to save All Might, does this mean that All For One is now out of this fight? We know that, one, he's not catching up to Bakugo, a transmission-assisted Bakugo screaming away from this fight with Toshinori safely. There's no way, and I doubt Shigaraki could even catch up with him at this point. Number two, we do know that the effects of the rewind quirk takes a lot of energy and it takes a huge toll on the body, and as All For One receives damage, he rewinds faster. I'd say that losing both your arms counts as a lot of damage. So, does this mean, after this fantastic move by Deku and Bakugo, that All For One is now essentially out of this fight because he's now going to rewind to maybe a 7-year-old, maybe a preschooler? Maybe he'll go after Deku and make his life a bit hard to contain Shigaraki. Maybe All For One will try and go after Shigaraki to desperately hold on to life. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Is All For One out of this fight? And did Bakugo successfully bend fate? As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you like these My Hero Academia chapter reviews and anime content, consider enrolling at UA today by subscribing. And until next time, Plus Ultra.